I'd like to say something briefly about the Bruce Jenner issue, or Caitlyn Jenner, as you wish. Followers of Christ, being part of the cultural conversation and talking with people in their communities are not only engaged in this conversation, but sometimes wondering exactly how to deal with this, what to say. So there is lots of confusion on this issue now in our culture, and even a little bit among Christians who don't know entirely how to respond to these things. Sometimes we strain at a gnat and we swallow a camel. The camel here being the way reality is structured. This isn't that hard. Jesus says from the beginning, it has been male and female. God created them, male and female, and the two became one flesh, and what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Now, I cite Jesus in this not because he's a religious leader, though he is, obviously, but because he is making an observation that every human being is capable of making. That when we look around at the nature of reality, we see that reality is structured a certain way. You do not need to make references to religion in order to make this point. And here's the point with regards to Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner is deeply confused. I understand that sex and gender are two different things. Sex is the way your body is, and gender is the way we see ourselves. So one is physical, the other one is mental. But is it not obvious that the two are meant to go together? Because if they don't go together, then the physical body can't do what the physical body was intended to do, whether intended by God or intended by nature. The two are meant to go together, and when they don't go together, then there's something amiss. And isn't this obvious in the way people talk about it? I feel like I'm a woman's soul in a man's body, for example. Well, can't we just say minimally that something's amiss there? There is not a matchup. Now, the tendency, of course, is to think that the body's wrong and the soul is right, and that's why people in the culture want to go along with the soul, or at least the soul's perception at that moment. I actually think that's a mistake. I think it's probably a lot more likely that the soul is confused than the body is wrong. And in fact, those who have had the body changed through a sex change operation to accommodate what their soul feels at that moment, oftentimes have huge regrets about making this irreversible change. So what do we say about a Bruce Jenner situation? Why can't we just simply be confident and say, if we're forced to say something, and a lot of times it's not appropriate to say anything. Sometimes we let some things slide. It's an issue of wisdom there. But if we're forced into commenting like we need to comment, why can't we just say, well, there's obviously a mismatch here? Even by Bruce Jenner's own admission. It seems to me that Bruce Jenner's confused. And we should love him. We should feel sympathy for him and others like him. But it is not going to help him, it seems, to go along with his confusion. It would be better to encourage him to be a unified self. Because a sex change operation is a contradiction in terms. You cannot change your physical sex. All you can do is mutilate your body. The body still remains the sex it is. So wouldn't it be better, since you can't change the body in any deep, profoundly meaningful sense, to work on changing the soul so that there is harmony and unity and communion? Isn't that the more loving thing to do?